Guys, welcome back. Jasmine is gone. We lost her. No, just kidding. She's grabbing a quick coffee and she's coming right back. But we are diving into the sounds of the system. We are going to see everything that's gone into the sounds as of late. And so far, almost every section has given us something. It's given us something. We just got the Devil Warframe. Maybe they'll leak a little something. Maybe they'll tell us about something that's coming.
Hello,
Let's
everyone.
see.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to TennoCon 2025, and welcome to this year's Sounds of the System panel. We've got an amazing showcase of all the amazing work that these panelists have been working on in the past year, but before I get started, it's my pleasure to introduce these amazing faces on the couch today. Starting at the end with a face and voice you know and love, please give a warm welcome back to Matt Chalmers.
Hey, how's it going?
Lead
Next
singer
up.
of Warframe.
Also a member of our returning
band.
cast, a big hello to audio lead for Warframe, Eric Preston.
Hey everybody, how's everyone doing? What's up? Can I get a Clem in chat? Can I get a Clem in chat?
Spam Clem.
I'm looking at you.
There.
Clem.
Comment.
Beside him, she's our Atomi cycle riding master of magnetic queen. Please give it up for the voice of Aoi, Alpha Takahashi.
Konnichiwa! So lovely to see you here today. Thank you for coming.
Starting us off with our fresh
Konnichiwa.
faces to the couch this year.
Hey,
Please
Duo
welcome
and fellow
sound designer
Tennos.
Paul
Happy
Christopher
Tenno
Akos.
Day. Sending love from Singapore.
everyone.
Oh, no
Excited to be
way.
here.
Welcome. Thank you.
To his left, please welcome sound designer Chris Teixeira to this year's panel.
Hey everybody.
And last but certainly not least, please also welcome Laura Dickens as a sound designer for Warframe. Welcome.
Hi, Tenno. Hi.
My name is Zach, and I'm a senior community manager, and I will be your auditory pilot for today. And before we get into it, let me hear you guys. Who was at Tenno concert last night?
I was there in spirit.
I was also there, and that's why my voice is almost gone. So you'll have to bear with me here. But what a perfect segue into our first topic of today, the music of 1999. Matt, the last time we chatted, we had only teased some 1999 songs. Now we have over 20 original songs in 3 albums across
20.
1999 and Tech Rock
Holy.
Encore, the most we've ever done for a single update. Tell us a bit about that process. Where did it all start?
Well, it started a couple years ago with See Into the Flesh, where we played that in 2023 at TennoCon. And yeah, that just started with Eric being like, hey, we're getting started on this 1999 thing. And you gave me some references, and I started to figure out what that sound would be, and while still sounding like Warframe. And then, yeah, we just did basically every genre after that.
Love it.
Yeah, I hope
absolutely
they
loved
tease
hearing them at
some
the
new
Tenno
music.
concert last night. It was a rager. What was it, your first time at an arena? Tell us about that.
Yeah, first time at an arena, first time as a singer on stage. Yeah, it was weird.
That was his first time singing on stage. Wait, really? Dang, he killed
Yeah,
it.
usually
No sparkling water.
my main instrument is
I'll go
drums,
get
so
it.
I'm usually just
No.
behind,
It's okay.
just chilling. I don't have to think about how I'm moving.
Thank you.
So yeah, that was a lot of new stuff for me.
It was absolutely spectacular. Eric, we travel across so many different vibes in each of the songs, some even lending themselves to a proto-frame. How does each personality form through the songs?
Yeah, it's a really fun process, actually. We take a lot of time, like Matt and I will listen to a lot of references, like you said, and usually what it comes down to is just trying to create an interesting, like, diverse playlist of all the tracks. We don't really ever want two things to sound the same. You probably notice that across a lot of our updates too, how we're always kind of changing the musical style up. So there's like a real conscious effort there to try and keep things fresh and to try new things. And like, as you know, Warframe, we go to so many cool places in the game that it's a real treat for us to kind of work with that and try to introduce new melodies, new textures, use new instruments just to create a lot of different flavors of ice cream. So 1999 was like a playground for us. Basically, doing our research, I listened to a lot of music through the 90s growing up, so it was a real joy to be able to go through all those tracks and just figure out which ones to share with you guys. So, yeah.
As someone born in 1999, I really recognize those 90s
For an
songs.
audio
Yeah,
guy,
they
he's
really
kind of hitting that
resonate.
mic with his
It took me right
nostrils
back
pretty
to
hard.
high school dance.
He said,
Love it. Of course, music is just one aspect of such a huge update. The sound effects play an equally important role. Laura, how was it designing sound for 1999? Was it different than a typical Warframe update?
Yeah, for sure. For sure, it's different. So I worked on the ambience for 1999, kind of creating the sounds of the environment across 4 different seasons. I also worked on the like Kim system UI sound effects and yeah, various other like gameplay elements for the update. And I would say that the main difference for me is that that's like a real world reference, right? So you're using the sound of a modern city as a reference. You're using the sound of like technology from a specific time as a reference. So that's like really helpful, but it's also kind of a challenge because you want to be able to convey that to the players. So yeah, I did a lot of like field recording around the city of Toronto across 4 different seasons and in different weather. I went out to like High Park really late at night once and ran into a coyote and I was like, oh, I shouldn't do this. But yeah, so in that way it was different, whereas like other environments are a little bit more fantastical and you have like a lot of like leeway. But having like real world references is also like the limitation is also a great source of inspiration.
Yeah, of course. And one of those designs you did was actually the helicopter sounds that you hear around Hulvania, and you made a behind the scenes video for us. So let's take a look.
guys work for DE.
My name is
You can go on a
Laura, and
helicopter
I'm a sound
ride.
designer at Digital Extremes.
Working on the ambience for Warframe 1999 was a big challenge. It involved a lot of field recording, studio recording, and editing to create a realistic modern soundscape. But you might be surprised to know that some of the realistic sounds you hear in 1999 were completely synthesized. For the exterior ambience, we wanted to create the impression of a large and active Skuldra military presence in Hulvania. To achieve that, I designed the sound of distant helicopters using the Korg MS-20M synthesizer.
Oh.
Wow.
To start, we're going to set the VCO1
Fake
waveform to
sounds,
noise.
fake game.
Then we'll send the LFO to the low-pass filter. Then I'm going to set the waveform to a downwards ramp shape. You can then control the cutoff of the filter by hand, or if you want a more bandpass effect, you can use the rubber band technique on the low and high pass filter
That's
together. If you wanted a bit darker and heavier sounding, you could try adding some pink noise.
Guys, if you don't know, there's digital like websites and stuff where you can get access to these types of synthesized boards.
In Reaper, I also added and automated an EQ, comb filter, distortion, and a chorus to add some more movement to
They're
the sound.
really fun to play around with. You can make all kinds of sounds and noises. That's crazy how real that sounds.
To
Yeah.
position the sound in space, I added some panning and volume automation and set it to a short-ish dark delay and a convolution reverb. And as you probably noticed, you can also hear a noise sweep layered in. Finally, in context, this is what the distant ambient helicopter sounds like in Warframe 1999.
Damn, that's so fucking cool. What the fuck? What the helly?
The hell?
Incredible. Well done.
Isn't Logic only on Apple?
Man,
I want
I
Logic.
love analog sound design. Where did you pick up that skill?
Yeah, so in my 20s, I used to work at like a boutique synthesizer store, and one of the perks of that job is that you could take home equipment to use and learn with, just like overnight. So I learned a lot of like principles of sound design there, and I also got to meet a lot of great artists and instrument designers, and that was kind of like a formative job for me. Yeah.
That's so cool. Thanks, Laura. Not only did we get great music and masterful sound effects, we also had incredible performances from our latest cast,
Self-plug.
the Hex.
Nah, I need them to
Alpha,
help me
you are
record
our
music.
second proto-frame to be introduced to us back in May 2024. Time flies. How was your introduction to the Warframe community?
The experience has been extraordinary. I just want to take a moment and say that Warframe and last year's TennoCon, especially in particular, has changed my life. So much of my life, I've been afraid of human communication. Meeting new people, just the
Same. I
idea of
feel
it
that.
terrifies me. I was frightened to come to any event, and I've never said okay to any appearances, but working with DE staff, by that time it's been almost a year, when they asked me, I was like, okay. And then I actually came here, and there was so much love from the community, the people who have attended,
community is really
and also
great.
online streaming, and support from DE staff, and also the long-lasting friendship with our
I think it's just the
voice
lack of
actors.
hate. The love gets to shine a little
thank
more.
you,
Yeah.
each and every one of you who are here today attending the TennoCon, and also watching on stream.
No, thank you, Alpha, for lending your voice to my favorite character in the game. So, you've also lent your talents to other games as well. But how was it recording for Warframe? Do you have a favorite line?
Ooh. Well, I believe that the human body is also an instrument, and the text, the words that we see on screen and dialogues, those are kind of like notes to us in a score. But when we're recording, we're all alone. We're just inside our box, very separate from outside world. So we're recording our own melody. And it's not until I saw, or I played 1999 myself, the actual final gameplay, that we saw the whole entire orchestral
on YouTube?
piece. And that was eye-opening.
we watch her play?
It was a lovely experience for me
wonder.
too. And as far as the favorite line, I want to say that the favorite line in the entire 1999 is, in a moment, I think it goes like, "Can you give my brain a hug?" Right? Like that's it hits you.
Well, to be able to go from heartbreaking lines from the quest, jokes about the others, and even romance, that's a lot of range. Do you have a routine to get yourself into the recording room?
I'm very fortunate to have a studio partner work with me, and every time before going into a recording session, whether it be for Warframe or other fighting games or video games, he plays music, soundtracks, so that I get into that mode. And whenever I'd go into the booth to record Warframe 1999, he would play music from the past Warframe music. Thank you. And that would get me straight into that zone that I need to be into. And after last year's fall update, Kome was playing a lot before my sessions.
I love that song. Well, just as a fun fact, Alpha recorded 581 voice lines for 1999 and TechRod Encore. That is an incredible
Wow.
feat. So thank you, Alpha, for bringing Aoi to life.
Wow.
Hey, there's the guitar guy. He's playing with a Rubik's
Of course,
Cube.
1999 brought with us two polar opposites, the Tekrut and the Skuldra. Not only unique in their looks, they're also accompanied by masterful sound design. Paul, you worked on both these factions. Tell us a bit about step one with the sound design for these guys.
Yeah, so every time we work on a new faction, our first step is establishing their voice. We always find that's the most important aspect because not only is it the most recognizable one, it then kind of dictates how all their abilities will sound. So with the Tech Rod, we obviously had a lot of their voices established because of the whispers in the wall quest. One of our sound designers, Giovanni, he really kind of pioneered that sound. So when it was time to work on 1999 properly, it was just about kind of following that blueprint that he had laid down. We used everything for the voices, our own voices, any device from the 90s that would produce a sound, like a pager or a cell phone ringtone, dial-up modem, arcade jingles, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and as a fun fact, when I was working on the Babao, it was obviously our mini-boss of that faction. It was very hulking, it was very intimidating. And I was like, hey, Eric, let's check it out. And I was like, I think I got to a good spot. And you were like, it's missing something. And you were like, how about you try using James's amazing Ollie lines into the Babao's vocals and just kind of distort them and blend them in. And yeah, I was like, all right, I'll give that one a try. Let's see how it goes. So yeah, whenever you kind of fight the Babao, now you can kind of hear the occasional in there. So yeah. Yeah, it was really cool, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we've worked with enemy factions before, obviously, but this has quite the military touch. Is it easy to work on things that are closer to our timeline?
I think so. It depends on how you look at it. It depends how much creative liberty you have. If you're trying to go like real milsim and kind of like really emulate our own world, it can be quite difficult. But with the Sculptor, we had full kind of creative liberties. So as a good example of that is when we were working on the RPG that you use in the quest, and by extension in the Assassinate game mode, you know, it sounded like an RPG, it exploded like an RPG, and Eric and I were chatting, we're like, okay, how do we make this thing feel like a threat to the tank? And you were like, you got hit with inspiration. You were like, add a Stuka siren on that bad boy. So every time that projectile kind of flies, you can hear the Stuka siren in there just kind of eliciting that fear and terror as it's about to damage the tank. So yeah, depends on how you look at it, how much creative liberty you have. Yeah.
I love that. Well, same question for yourself, Laura. As you mentioned, you worked on the ambiance of the city. What were some important factors to consider when making Halvania come to life?
Yeah, so I feel like when you work on an environment, what you're really doing is telling a story, and we're kind of trying to tell this story that took place over the course of a year across 4 seasons. So really the focus was always like, okay, what's the narrative? What's the most narratively important sounds in this environment? So that includes the Skuldra military and how active it is across different seasons, how alive the city is across the different seasons. Are the Tekrot out and about in different seasons? So those elements were always the main kind of focus, and that's how we kind of brought the story and Halvania to life across the course of a year.
That's so cool. It feels like a true city, and it was so interesting seeing it come to life for the first time of something we've never seen before, but it also felt like home. And you mentioned you recorded sounds in Toronto in the park, so that's pretty cool. So.
Yeah, I did, but it's like kind of a challenge to like find places in a city that are like kind of removed from the main action. So I'd like go in alleyways and like parks at night, and it was a little dangerous.
Yeah, sound design is a dangerous, line of work. You're going in alleyways.
You'll find us in strange places all the time.
Swimming pools and alleyways is the slogan for the sound team this year. Of course, that's not the only group we met this year. Let's chat about our Infested Kings online. Chris, you worked on... Yeah.
Online.
Chris, you worked on the actual TechnoSite Coda fight with the first of its kind literal arena. What were some of the challenges you faced with bringing it together from a sound design perspective?
Yeah, for sure. I would say the most challenging part would be the mix. We have the amazing Party of Your Lifetime track there. That's kind of the centerpiece. And then we have the stadium hazards, the pyro, the lasers. We have explosions everywhere. Then we have the TechnoSite Coda. There's 5 of them you're fighting. We want to make sure that all sounded good together and was all cohesive, and you could hear the amazing track in there. And I think we landed somewhere where it was sounding good, and it was a really fun fight. So I think that was the most challenging part. And then the second part of that maybe would be the crowds. We wanted to make sure that you really felt like you're at an arena or a stadium, like you were mentioning. From the concession area where you walk in, you hear some crowd walla, to when you walk onto the stadium floor, there's crowd cheering. And then, throughout the fight, the finishers, there's so much crowd in there. And then something I do want to mention as well is between fights when you're playing multiplayer, there's a little encore section and people are chanting online. I don't know if you remember from TennoCon last year, but that was you guys saying online, and that's in the game, and that you hear your own voices.
That's so cool. What?
That's sick.
But yeah, they also put
That's
a
pretty
weird
cool.
filter over the
that.
crowd
I love that
sounds.
you guys added that in,
It
so
sounds
thank you
so
for
creepy during those
And I
boss
wanted
fights.
to shout out Jeff, my partner in crime, working on the TechnoSite Coda. He did an amazing job, and I think we are really proud of our work on those enemies.
Incredible
Flame.
job. But the real question is, do you have a favorite member?
It's Clem.
That's tough. I'm gonna say DJ Rom because his like I feel some kinship there because he's like producer, music producer, audio kind of thing. But then to fight, I'm gonna say Hard Drive because he's got a big CRT monitor that he uses as a shield. So that's my choice there.
I love it. Well, Matt, you worked on these songs with Online. How was it seeing Mesh into the gameplay?
Yeah, super cool. And writing those songs was such a interesting process and learning experience with Keith. It was super fun to just go back and forth with lyrics. Sometimes we just spend 2 days in a row just like every single line, just meticulously like choosing what's the best way to say this or like the coolest way. And yeah, I mean, it was just really cool and awesome to see in context. And yeah, that mix sounds like a nightmare. So good job.
Thanks. Paul, let's go back to you for a moment as you actually had a hand in cooking up the sounds for the coda weapons that you get for these fights. Have you worked on the infested weapons before?
No, it was my first time, and as a matter of fact, as far as I know, this was the first infested weapon batch we dropped in a really long time. So it was interesting to kind of revisit that faction with the lens of the tech rod, obviously, right? So I really wanted to give each of the 3 unique weapons their own personality and kind of vibe, and I spent a lot of time just thinking about, what's the through line for each of these 3 weapons. Obviously, with the dual Torxica, I tried playing around with an infested gunshot, but what we found was just relying on a real natural gunshot and then having something on the tail to tell you that it's an infested weapon worked at the best. So every time you're kind of shooting that weapon, it feels nice and punchy, and then when you stop shooting, you kind of hear the spin down of the barrels, and you hear that little infested screech in there. Sells it perfectly. And then obviously the Coda Motovore, wow, what a weapon that was. A big hammer wheel with the occasional teeth and or spikes on it, depending on your damage type. That's crazy. So for that one, I really wanted you to hear kind of the sputtering engine, kind of revving as you hold the weapon, and kind of the spokes on the wheel too. And the occasional kind of infested vocal in there really kind of sold the vibe. And then, of course, we had the star of the cast, the Coda bass assist. Wow, what a weapon that one was.
Whoa.
Just weaving in dubstep sounds.
I love that how he
okay, let's do
talks.
this. Let's see how that works.
He's like enthusiastic,
I can
but
tell you from
chill.
experience that weaving in
He's
any form of
enthusiastically
tonal
chill.
musical
I love
element to a
it.
weapon is like a recipe for disaster because you spam it so much, it can sound super grating and annoying. So Eric and I, we did a lot of back and forth, figuring out what's the right balance, how do we want to make it sound, and at some point, I think I had like 24 notes that would play like a whole song. We stripped that back to 8 notes. It made that feel more satisfying, a little bit more tame too. And yeah, I haven't seen any complaints on the forums. I think we did a pretty good job with that one. I hope.
A team that
There you go.
reads the
Fan
community
favorite.
forums?
No.
What? No,
Well, you
that
did
can't be
spoil
real.
it.
I don't
You
even
put
read
a
my own
little,
YouTube
video
comment. I'm just
together
kidding. We
of
read
how you
every
did
single
the sounds
comment.
for the Coda bass assist, so let's take a look at that.
Crazy.
Hi Tenno,
Most
my name's
companies
Paul,
don't
and
give
I'm
a
a sound
shit.
designer at Digital Extremes. Today, I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of how I made the dubstep sounds of the Coda bass assist. First, let's take a listen to how it sounds in game, and then we'll jump over to my Reaper session.
Ooh. Dang. Why do I feel like I'm bopping
Alright,
my head?
and
to
now
that?
we are in
No,
Reaper.
thanks for the follow.
The dubstep sound is comprised of 3 separate layers, all of which are made with the software synthesizer that you can see on screen called Serum. Let's take a listen to how each of these layers sound on their own and then put together. Let's start with layer A. And now everything in layer A combined.
Whoa.
That's cool.
Let's move on to layer B. And now layer B combined. And lastly, layer C.
It just sounds so cool.
Bro, I'm
And
just
everything in
saying,
layer
you
C
gotta have
combined.
some sort of favoritism to be like this good.
And here's all 3 layers combined with the processing used to create the final sound asset that goes in game.
Damn, that sounds that's crazy.
And to wrap things up, here's a few variations that include the dubstep layer, the punch layer, the shot layer,
Where's the shotgun?
and the mech layer.
I like.
All these sounds put together create the final result you hear in game.
That's so sick.
And that's how the dubstep sounds of the Coda bass assist were
Dude,
made.
I love they
I hope
show
you
this
enjoyed this quick
stuff.
behind the scenes
I know.
look, and I hope you enjoyed the
It
rest of the
makes
show.
you love the game more. Because now when you play and you like hear it,
Amazing.
you know, like
Yeah.
you have more of appreciation for it.
This stage just made me realize that my speakers at home are not as good as the ones here. That's pretty basic.
Wow.
That's amazing stuff. Oh, thank you
I
very
need it where
much.
it
And
shakes
as
my
much,
whole
much as I would love
chair.
to chat $19.99 for the whole hour, let's take a look back at
we put on the
last
Super
year's
Wheel
post
rent
TennoCon update,
concert
Kome and the Five
speakers,
Fates.
and then play a video
Other
game
than
with
Prime
concert speakers.
Warframes,
Nobody would
Warframes don't
watch
really
that. It
get
would
their
blow
own
their
theme
eardrums
songs,
out.
but
No,
Kome's
it would
theme
blow
song,
our
What Is My
eardrums
Fate
out.
is
They're
such a
watching from
banger.
home. They
How
don't
was it
even
working
hear
with
the
Matt,
mic.
Eric,
FBI,
to create
open
something
up!
that would play as a theme song to an entire mission?
You're missing the
This was a
vision.
fun one.
I
to
hear
work
you.
on, I
It's just
think.
our neighbors won't like it.
So this one kind of started off with, I remember putting together some references for Matt, sitting in my office going, okay, what are we going to do for this one? I think the first thing that I did was I like to kind of like, again, I mentioned it before, look at references, get some ideas. And I remember kind of looking at the Japanese top 10 pop chart and kind of getting a vibe for what tracks were on there and the sound that you get from it, because we wanted it to feel like authentic and kind of an homage to that, and ended up finding one cool track called Tokyo Calling. I don't know if anyone knows that track. But if you listen to
listen to it all
that
the
one,
time.
there's some influence that comes from that that kind
Tokyo-
of gives like the
If you
drive
let me
and
know.
that kind of like poppy in your face feel to it. And then yeah, I mean Matt masterfully wove that in with other themes and elements, different instruments that are inspired by kind of the visuals and the vibe of the update. So yeah, that one was super fun, and I think it turned out great. So
Yeah, it's so unique. And you just mentioned the instruments as well. Do you know the names of some of the unique instruments that you guys were using for this?
I had a bit of koto in there, but the main thing was the vocals, and I had an amazing vocalist, Chihiro, help out with the vocals, but also the Japanese translation, because I wanted to make sure that it made sense and I wasn't just using Google Translate. And so when I was working with Chihiro, I was like, okay, here's a line. How do I say that? And then she would give me the pronunciation. And then I'd be like, oh, okay, it's that many syllables now. And then I'd be like, well, if I shorten it, which word can I take out to have it make sense still? So yeah, I was very careful about that. And Alpha, did I do okay?
Kono toki
Whoa,
mateta. Kono toki mateta. It goes, I think it means something like,
I think.
I have been waiting for my fate.
yeah. There's a lot of like brutal lyrics. I can't remember all of them, but there's some creepy stuff in
It's
there.
engraved in my brain at this point. I think that's my favorite song.
Thank you.
It was so cool. Such a banger and such a unique update for so many reasons. Chris, you had a hand in bringing the Kome Warframe to life. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kome feels like she's
Kome
always
was
been.
probably
She's
one of my
just slots
favorite
in
Warframes to work
as
on
a
so far.
very well-designed Warframe.
Really unique frame.
Yeah.
There's so many special things about Kome, but it kind of all started with the gamble frame, right? So it started with the dice rolls. So I was rolling dice on different surfaces. How does this sound? How does that sound? You're going to hear it all the time, so I wanted to make sure the dice were good. And I think I hit that mark when Eric sent me a message, and he's like, "I think you got it. It sounds like I want to eat them." And I was like, "Yeah, I think that's it. It's like M&Ms or something in your
So
mouth."
Eric.
And I was like, I get that sense too. So yeah, I think that was good. And then it was really cool to work with, Japanese style instruments. So I got the koto when you roll sixes, and I got Japanese Shinto bells in there. There's so much to it. Also, I found the heels looked really cool, and I was like, I think this frame needs like unique footsteps, like some clicky, kind of like where you're walking around. So I made footsteps for different surfaces. Anything you walk on kind of sounds like heels. Felt like it matched the character.
That's cool.
So yeah, that was a really fun one to work on.
It's so cool. And of course, the ability sounds of every Warframe are always super unique, but you put a little behind the scenes video for us together to show you how you did it.
Yeah,
Let's
check it
take a
out.
look.
Hey everyone, it's Chris from the sound team. Today I'm going to show you how I made Komei's Bunraku ability sound. Komei's fourth ability, Bunraku, blasts enemies, giving them a variety of status effects. But what's most awesome is she turns enemies into marionettes.
That's so cool.
Marionettes.
I wanted to
Never heard
build
that
on
word
this
before.
concept by envisioning enemies were physically turned into wooden puppets along with a music box tune while they danced. To do this, I picked up a wooden build-it-yourself music box kit. It played a cool little tune, but I wanted to make something custom. I started recording it note by note. Instead of sampling in the traditional sense, I used Reaper to split out the notes and put them on a grid to start constructing my song. That way I could splice in mechanical clicks and chords
That's
to
so
make it more
cool.
natural sounding. After experimenting a bit, I came up with 2 unique loops that can play on puppeted enemies.
Oh, that's sick.
That's so cool.
I also used some of the wood that came with the kit, as well as some dowels to make the enemy movement sounds. For the main part of Komei's Bunraku ability, I used many samples to create a unique energy buildup sound, followed by a powerful impact. There are also whispered Japanese voice lines that translate roughly to puppets dance. And after combining everything together, here's what it sounds like.
That's so cool.
Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of TennoCon.
Thanks for watching. I love that.
The wave is too good.
I agree, Zach. I agree.
So good.
Also wanted to mention the whispered voice is none other than Alpha.
That was my voice?
That was your voice, yeah?
She didn't even
surprise.
know. I love that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. No, now I have to play it again.
So
That's
cool.
so
and Chris,
funny.
I have to do it to you. You also
Me?
worked on another fan favorite, Warframe, didn't you? Which frame is that?
I did. I worked on Corvex. Any Corvex fans in here?
Corvex mention. Thanks, Chris. Well, let's jump ahead to a very recent update where the spider frame came to life.
I never noticed the enemies dance with that ability. I can
Paul,
understand
you had
that.
the pleasure
When you
on
play
working
Warframe, you
on the
kind of
sound
just
effects
like
for
ability
Araxia.
spam.
What was your
You hit it
reaction when
and
you were
go.
told we were doing the
Yeah,
spider
I
frame?
get that.
Oh, I was so
So I
excited.
like that they
you
do
have
this
no idea. I was so excited, in
Slow
fact,
it down
that
a little
I
bit.
went directly to Eric and I was like, "Can I work on this, please? Pretty please." And yeah,
First come, first serve.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and usually we're on rotation too. So because I did Side 09 back in December, I wouldn't have worked on a new Warframe for a few more months. But yeah, I kind of cut the line with that one. It was too cool. It was too cool. Yeah.
I love it. And a lot of sounds you use real life recordings. Did you record any spiders for this one?
So no, spiders don't really make a sound. That's the problem, right? So it was very interpretative. And what kind of happened was because I was so excited for Araxia, I kind of had a very specific sound for her in mind. So I just went directly in my software Reaper and I just started designing. And by kind of happy accident, I had already designed the fourth ability in like the first day. So that kind of informed all the other abilities. So I didn't really get to record that much. The only thing I did record was for the Syotid, her signature secondary weapon. I really wanted a cool kind of fluid web sound for it. So I kind of just recorded like anything that was kind of a spray that I had lying around my apartment. So like deodorants, foam sprays, shampoos, and stuff like that. Just giving that fluid, organic, whooshy sound. And fun fact, when that weapon was done, I was just playing with Araxia daily, just checking in. All the abilities were done. And up until that point, whenever you would have the fourth ability active and you would dodge, you would just roll like a normal Warframe. But one day, she just started latching onto walls. And I was like, no one told me this. What's this? What? So, yeah, I was like, okay, happy accident there, because I already had recorded all that stuff with the Syotid. I was able kind of to reuse the same source. And yeah, I think it turned out pretty cool. Yeah.
Pretty cool. Okay, so we got pools, alleyways, and bathroom materials for sound design now.
Yeah.
Love that.
And I also have another fun fact for you. So, same like Chris, the same thing that Chris said about the footsteps of Komei. I saw the same message where someone was praising Komei's footsteps. I was like, it would be cool if you did something for Araxia too. So
A little
I was like,
competition.
what do we do? And Rusalka is in this update, and she had some pretty badass sounding heals in 1999. So I was like, and I worked on those. So I was like, how about I kind of bring that stuff over and kind of give it a little bit more of an Araxia spin? So yeah, she's kind of using Rusalka's footsteps in a sense.
Interesting. Much to think about.
Yeah.
Speaking of Rusalka, Alpha, how would Aoi react to Rusalka being in Duviri?
I would run personally, but I was so happy to see her back. Like Rusalka is one of my favorite characters. The design is spectacular. Like, won't you agree, right?
I love it. And of course, to accompany such a design, we needed something with emotional music. Eric, Duviri was already complex with emotion, but now we're throwing the murmur in there. Was it like opening an old cookbook, or did you employ any new techniques for this update?
Yeah, I mean, definitely looking for some new textures and kind of remixing some old textures too. The kind of headlining track, Tethra Jirak, was kind of the first thing that came to mind that we worked on. That one, as soon as I kind of saw what we were doing with the spider frame and the landscape that we were fighting in and the boss fight, I knew there had to be some organ in there again. Last time we did organ was in the Zeraman, but definitely wanted to bring that back. So that track heavily features organ. And then some amazing vocals again from Francesca, who's sung on a lot of other tracks for us. So yeah, I mean, Matt, you put those two things together and it sounded awesome. I think on the first pass that you sent me, it was pretty much there. Like it was sounding good right out of the gate. So that was a super fun way to combine a few things that we've done in the past. And then obviously bringing in the Void tongue is always so fun to combine. So yeah, a lot of that was combining like Void tongue, Void chanting with kind of those Duviri elements. And yeah, the lead violin section in the combat track was really cool too.
Yeah, shout out Xiao, who played last night at Tenno concert. She had a very difficult part that I wrote for her and somehow did it. I was like, is this possible? She was like, give me 2 weeks and I'll figure it out. And then she came in and nailed it. So yeah,
better pay her for those 2 weeks.
Combining all the classical stuff with the creepy, if Bokri all that kind of stuff. Yeah, very fun.
Timer's
so
still
fun.
going.
And whenever we
Netflix.
can, we always try to add live
have it
elements
hiding
to the
for
music.
this.
So those little touches kind of on top really push it over the edge.
It's
so,
almost
yeah, I
done,
hope you
though.
enjoyed those tracks. Yeah, did a great job on the Matt.
They did so good.
Yeah, my end today.
It's such
so
an
good.
incredible mix of themes. And guess what? I'm going to take advantage of these big speakers again, and we're going to showcase a little bit of Isleweaver's featured track. Let's take a listen. Oh, it's
So good.
incredible. Shout out, Fran. Now, as you know, we are celebrating our 10th TennoCon, so I thought, what better time to look back and reminisce? So I've got a question for everyone here. We'll start with you, Matt. How have you evolved your craft over the years?
I think in the last couple years, especially, songwriting has been a more featured element in Warframe. Even when we're doing in-game music like this, I'm starting to think more verse, pre-chorus, chorus than I was before. Usually with instrumental music, I would just kind of think like section A, section B, section C, and make sure it loops nicely and all of that. But now that we're adding more vocals to everything, it feels like an opportunity to make things a little bit more catchy and listenable outside of the game. So I think I'm approaching things differently in that sense. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
That's great. Remind me, what was your first Warframe track that you worked on?
Ooh, I think it was for the new war, and I think it was a cutscene with Cal, I believe. It's just a short little thing that Keith gave me. And yeah, that was the first thing I did.
That's super
Rest
cool.
is history. Yeah.
Well, same question to you, Eric. You've been around DE for a while. How have you evolved your craft?
Yeah, I mean, Warframe's such a complex game with a lot of combat and a lot of things happening all the time. So I think one thing that I've been striving for and continue to strive for is simplicity and trying to distill things down to kind of only the pieces that you need. Doing that not just with how many sounds are playing and things like that, but distilling emotion down in sound effects and music, and just trying to make things as digestible and readable as possible. It's a big hill to climb, and I'll probably always be climbing it.
I love that simplicity. Alpha, same question for you.
I've been learning that staying true to yourself can be sometimes very, very powerful. I've been with DE since 2023, and even the course of just the Always dialogues, I've seen the progression of the writing, and it's become sort of closer to what I'd actually say. You know, even in the truck scene, I'm not going to say it right now. Very memeable. And it came as an approval to me, saying it's okay to be yourself and showing that to the outside world. And that can sometimes affect others too. So, yay!
I love that. Great answer. Paul, how have you evolved your craft?
I have to echo Eric's sentiment. Sometimes less is more, and that's something I found like it to be true all the time. I have a really good example for you. When I was working, spoilers for the Jade Shadows quest. If you haven't played it, go play it, please. So when I was working the cinematic sequence when Stalker is about to escape and he is ambushed by Zito in the Corpus, it's a very chaotic sequence. Bullets are flying, Stalker is grunting and he's parrying, and then eventually he gets shot in the leg and he kind of just kneels and falls. Initially, that sequence was like, it had full sound coverage, everything kept going, but, we removed everything, and the only thing you hear as he falls is just one bass hit. Boom. And then everything just kind of muffles. And then the emotional uncertainty kicks in, and there's nothing there but the music and then the baby cry. Super powerful moment, and in my opinion, one of the kind of apex moments of
Hell
that
yeah.
quest.
I
And
wanna
I think
replay
one of
that.
the big reasons
Yeah,
why
it
it's
was
such
so
a
good.
memorable and emotional sequence is because of how little we put into it, in a way.
Wow, that's super interesting. Thank you for sharing. And Chris, on to you. Same question.
Yeah, for sure. I think when I would record something or start layering in samples for a sound, that would kind of be the sound as is, kind of like that, maybe some effects and things like that. Now I would say I'm more creative with time stretching and pitching, and like the sounds I recorded aren't so sacred. I will mangle them in special ways to make, to wrestle really cool sounds out of them. One example would be Stalker's ship. I took some of his weapon sounds and his voice, and I pitch shifted it, and then it turned into this like crazy sci-fi ship sound just from his voice and his weapon sounds, pitch shifted, stretched out, like just, as simple as that. So.
Wow, that's super. It's almost like molding with clay, but for sound. That's super interesting. Thanks, Chris. And Laura, same question for you.
Yeah, so I'd say the biggest way in which my craft has improved, I also started in like 2023, would be just working with a team, with an incredible team, getting their insight, getting their feedback, getting to like experience their work and see how the sausage is made. That has been the most impactful on my craft. So working with others.
I love that. And a huge shout out to Laura for making a fan favorite, the Palm 2 music that you hear for the Kim Chat. This is Laura's special piece.
What? They made that music?
That's cool.
That's iconic.
Well, community is, of course, a huge reason why we can celebrate our 10th TennoCon. And I just have to say, under every comment section of the videos that we post, you guys are giving our amazing sound team such huge praise. My favorite comment is that DE is just a music studio that makes games on the side. So big round of applause to the whole sound team at DE.
Clap. Clap, dang it.
Incredible. As we near the end of our time
Like
here,
I
I wanted to
waved.
have
I
a bit
waved
of
back.
fun. Warframe has lots of iconic lines from our wonderful cast of voice actors, but what if they were read by our wonderful cast of panelists? So there's a piece of paper that I've handed all of them that have a voice line from the game, and if
I
they
love
would
when
be
they
so
do this
kind to read it
stuff.
out loud, we're going to start with
Comes
Matt.
the memes.
I'm very excited now. The anticipation, ooh. I always learn so much from a live dissection.
Incredible.
Creepy.
And of course, that's from the amazing Till Rigor. Okay, Eric, you're up.
The Void Storm's intensity is approaching level 5. 5 is the worst, by the way.
Amazing. Thank you.
5 is the worst.
And
by the way.
Alpha, your voice line.
Let's see. Objects that have affected one another continue to affect one another even when they're separated. I've missed you.
Oh,
No.
Nah.
love it. All right, Paul, you're up.
Your weapons make music, and the enemy calls for a song.
Amazing.
That's cool. He should try doing it with a voice next time.
And Chris?
I'm joking.
Remember to take care of yourself, operator. Pressure creates diamonds, yes, but it also creates rubble.
No, we made that comment
Awesome.
earlier. That guy is like actually so
And Laura.
enthusiastically chill.
Yeah, that was the most he's
Dream,
been. this
not
whole
of what
time.
you are,
Was
but
that.
of what you want to be.
Oh, classic. Thanks, Laura. I have a piece of paper too. Look at them. They come to this place when they know they are not pure. Tenno, use the keys, but they are mere trespassers. Only I, Vor, know the true power of the void.
The true power of the void. Was that a leak?
Thank you
Leak.
all. That was
Spoiled.
fantastic.
True power of the void?
Now, I can't just end the panel without one more thing. We're just 2 hours away from learning about the next chapter of Warframe, but how do you guys feel about a little bit of a tease?
Yes! Finally!
Yes!
Oh my god.
Yes! All
we
right,
go.
I'm sitting up.
Well, Eric, what are we about to show? No spoilers, of course.
Well, this is where we're headed musically with Warframe. We've just come off some crazy grunge 99 tracks, and
Everybody
we
wake
wanted
up,
to
wake
go
up.
almost the exact opposite direction. So this time we pulled out all the stops. This is the first time we've recorded a 50-piece orchestra for the score. So yeah, here's a little behind-the-scenes look of what's to come.
Guys,
right,
wake
let's
up.
take
Pay
a look.
attention. Pay attention.
Cast and cry, raise the million pylons high. All our kin were bound to fly for that far shore forlorn.
Oh, it's full chills.
Onward high, oh, but we may tame the sky. Oh, but we shall list and die on that far shore forlorn.
Wow.
Dang. Dang. Holy
Chills,
crap. So that's
chills,
where all
chills,
our plat money
So stay
goes.
tuned
Dang.
for
Yeah,
Tenno Live
yeah.
to
That's
see
where my
that
plat
music will
goes.
play
As it should.
tonight. Well, panelists, we have just a few minutes here, so any departing words for the wonderful Tenno in the audience today?
Thank you all for playing Warframe
say, thank
and
you for
coming
playing our
out to
game.
this convention and being part of this special event. I hope you all enjoyed that concert last night if you were there, and just cannot wait for you guys to see what's coming up. So thank you.
Amazing. Well, Thank you to my amazing couch of panelists. Thank you to the whole sound team at DE and DE as a whole. Thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for the narrative panel up next. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
They're so cool. They're so cool.
Yup.
All right, do we want to do a quick
Guys,
giveaway?
thank you so much for watching on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, we will see you in the next part of TennoCon. Bye.
Bye.